Advanced Spatial Design Inc. Information seen differently.
Hello, my name is Aaron, and I'm an innovator at Advanced Spatial Design Inc. One of the things that we try to do at ASD is to see problems differently. So when you give us a paper form, we see an opportunity to make an app. This demo is about a paperless reporting system that's been built within Filemaker Go, and we're demoing it on the new iPad. Now, the benefits of such a system is that you save time by minimizing the amount of paper you have to manage both in the field and in the office. You save time and money from minimizing the need to have somebody digitize the information from the paper form into an electronic format. With this demo, we'll show you that you can collect information directly onto the iPad, and you can extract it or export it in any way that you prefer. And ultimately, an application like this would mitigate the risks of losing information. We live in a very complex world with a lot of streams of information that people have to consume, and these apps can capture some of that information, and we can manage it in a way that we can create value from it later on in the cycle of your projects or in your field trips. Now, the output of such an app for this platform, we can produce PDFs, Excel spreadsheets, we can summarize it in an email, you can connect it to our database if you decide to go with a cloud-based solution. And we could print it from this from the iPad as well, which might be a bit ironic given that we're doing a paperless reporting system. So this app, as you can see, will allow us to capture employee information, asset information. This form is really based on an incident, an injury that might occur in the field. So if something was to happen to an employee or to an asset, they would have to fill out this form. The process to fill out this form is quite time consuming, so there are certain parts where I'm just going to fast forward through the data entry, and I'll just stop here and there to point out some of the things that we can do with such an app. Now, before we start, I must mention that we can produce an app that sits directly on the iPad, or we can have it as a connection to our database. Now, if we were to go with the cloud-based solution, the connection to our database, you would need to ensure that the areas that you're visiting have cell coverage. So let's begin. Now, one of the neat things with these apps is that we're able to integrate some of the features that come along with the iPad. So in this case, we have the ability to use the dictation function. John Smith, 6789. And so with the dictation function, that gives us a lot more opportunities to improve the efficiency of certain searches. So right now there is information about sites, there is information about third parties. Now we can create a search that uses the search function, so the user could just speak towards the iPad and it would register it and pull up the right record or the right information. So again, that is just an example of us being able to use some of the features that are built into the iPad. Now, for instance, it's not in this demo, but a phone number, we can code it in a way that would ensure that the formats or the number of digits were collected properly. We don't have it in this demo, but one of the benefits of having it in an application like this is that you're able to ensure that the information that you collect sits in a format that you can use. Further on in the demo, you'll see that we use some time pickers up in this corner. We'll use date pickers as well, and so we can standardize how the information is being entered, so we can immediately start using this information for analysis. So as you can see, we have certain areas of the form that have been grayed out, and so this is a way to nudge the field personnel in the right direction. So they wouldn't be able to fill in this block without first pushing save, or I think it actually jumps to that top block. So after we push save, then it goes to the next section. And so you can guide the end user through this application based on the ability to enter in information. And again, going back to collecting standardized information or information that you already have that just needs to be filled in the form, a drop-down box is very useful in displaying the different types of, in this case, the sites. And so this information in this picker window can be preloaded into the iPad, and this information would exist in a different part of the database if you decide to build a larger database. But this allows us to connect all that information so that you have it when you need it. So again, you'll notice that after filling in this section, it automatically jumped to the site information. Now, one thing I will add to this section is that, again, similar to the dictation, we can use the built-in camera with the GPS tagged photos to capture, photos of the section of the field that gave you the injury or the incident. In this case, we'll take a picture of my wonderful setup that we have here. And so we are able to capture as many photos as the field person feels is necessary to describe what happened to that incident. One thing I must also mention is, if we go back to the page before, is that in this classify risk section, there is this button for the risk matrix. And now this stands out of standard forms because you wouldn't be able to embed this diagram or this matrix right into the form. You would have to have it as a separate appendix inside a larger folder of forms. With the iPad, if an individual doesn't know what the risk matrix is for, we have the ability to load that, say PDF or JPEG, right into the application, and it would give the end users the ability to understand what is required to answer that question. So that is just another important or side note for the apps that we can build. With the touchscreen, we have the ability to capture, again, camera, photos. We can also capture signatures. So depending on who was at the incident site, we have the ability to have them sign directly onto the iPad. And so that reduces the need to track down the different pieces of paper that people sign. You can have everybody sign on this iPad. The iPad could be passed around to the entire field team, and they could just fill it out as they need. Now, usually we don't show this page, but to illustrate the different ways that we can send you this information, again, we can have you connected to our database and just pull that information directly. We have the ability to email the PDF. You view it directly on the unit. It will look like this. All the information that we captured, the pictures, picture of the setup. We can also export it to various formats, as a CSV, as a DBF file, as an Excel worksheet, We also have the ability to print it directly from the application. We would print it. I don't have any printers hooked up right now, but you would have the ability to do that if you needed to print that field form right away. So this is basically the end of the demo. It's a pretty quick one, and one of the things that is possible is being able to load one of these field apps onto the iPad, slap one of the ruggedized cases that we have at ASD. We have a YouTube video that shows kind of how tough some of these cases are. And you, with that setup, you have a very, very ruggedized piece of field equipment that is location aware. You can use the GPS, and it's pretty friendly to use. So again, the benefits of such an application is the ability to minimize the amount of paper you need to manage in the field and in the office. You save time and money because you don't really need anybody to enter in the information from the field forms into an electronic format. The data is captured in an electronic format already. And ultimately, you reduce the risk of losing your data. You capture it in the field, and however it's captured in the field is going to be however you consume it. There is no translation, so there is no risk of losing that information. So, hope you found this demo useful. If there's something that ASD could help you with, please let us know, and we'll be in contact with you guys as soon as possible. So, take care. Bye now.
Advanced Spatial Design Inc. Information seen differently.